A large-scale study published in a leading rheumatology journal tracked over 4,000 adults past the age of 60 and found that those who eliminated just 2 common foods from their diet experienced up to a 41% reduction in joint pain within 8 weeks. 41%. Without a single new medication, without surgery, and without setting foot in a physical therapist's office. No cortisone shots, no knee braces, no expensive supplements. Just removing 2 foods that were silently fueling the inflammation, destroying their cartilage from the inside out. And here's the part that should concern you. At least 3 of the 7 foods we're about to cover are almost certainly in your kitchen right now. Number 4 is in nearly every household in the country, and almost nobody realizes what it's doing to their joints. Today, we're counting down 7 foods that are silently fueling inflammation, accelerating cartilage breakdown, and making your knees, hips, and back feel decades older than they should. These aren't rare, exotic ingredients. They're everyday foods. Foods you probably ate yesterday. Foods you might be planning to eat tonight. Some of these will be obvious once we explain the science. But number 1? Number 1 is a food that most seniors eat every single day believing it's healthy. Believing it's helping them. Believing it's part of a smart diet. When the research tells a very different story, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to cut, what to replace it with, and how fast your joints can start to recover. Before we get into the list, tell us in the comments your age and where you're watching from. We read every single comment, and this community is now one of the largest groups of health-conscious adults over 60 on YouTube. Drop your age below, and let's see where everyone is tuning in from today. Number 7. Margarine and trans fat spreads. For decades, margarine was marketed as the heart-healthy alternative to butter. Millions of seniors grew up spreading it on toast every morning, believing they were making the smart choice. But research consistently shows that artificial trans fats, the kind found in margarine, shortening, and many processed spreads, are among the most inflammatory substances you can put into your body. A 2006 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition confirmed that trans fatty acid consumption was significantly associated with elevated levels of C-reactive protein, interleukin-6, and other systemic inflammatory markers. These aren't just abstract numbers on a blood panel. C-reactive protein is one of the primary biomarkers doctors use to measure inflammation. The same inflammation that attacks the cartilage lining your knees, hips, and spine. Here's why this matters for your joints specifically. Cartilage has no blood supply of its own. It relies on the surrounding synovial fluid for nutrients and waste removal. When systemic inflammation rises, that fluid becomes less effective. Cartilage breaks down faster than it can repair, and you feel it every time you stand up from a chair, climb a staircase, or try to open a jar. The fix is straightforward. Replace margarine with extra virgin olive oil, grass-fed butter in moderation, or avocado spread. These contain oleic acid and omega-3 precursors that actively reduce inflammation rather than drive it. When shopping, check every label for the words partially hydrogenated. That's the technical term for trans fats, and it still appears in some processed baked goods, microwave popcorn, and non-dairy creamers even after the FDA's 2018 ban on industrial trans fats in the U.S. Some products received extended compliance deadlines, and imported goods may still contain them. Read the ingredient list, not just the nutrition facts panel. Products with less than 0.5 grams per serving can legally list trans fat as 0. Number 6. Processed deli meats, bologna, salami, hot dogs, packaged ham. These are lunchtime staples for millions of adults. Convenient, affordable, and easy to prepare. But recent research involving over 2,500 older adults showed that those who consumed processed meats more than 3 times per week had significantly higher rates of joint stiffness and reported more frequent flare-ups of osteoarthritis symptoms compared to those who ate unprocessed protein sources. The culprit is a combination of advanced glycation end products, known as AGEs, sodium nitrates, and excessive omega-6 fatty acids. AGEs are compounds that form when proteins or fats react with sugars during high heat processing. They accumulate in joint tissue over time and trigger a cascade of inflammatory responses. Harold, 68, was a retired postal worker in Michigan who loved his daily deli sandwich: 2 slices of salami, a few rounds of bologna, some mustard on white bread. He'd been eating the same lunch for over 20 years. When his knee pain became severe enough that he could barely walk to the mailbox, his daughter convinced him to see a nutritionist. The first thing she changed was his lunch. Within 6 weeks of switching to grilled chicken breast, canned wild salmon, and turkey. He roasted himself on Sundays. Harold reported that his morning stiffness had dropped from nearly an hour to about 15 minutes. His words: "I didn't believe food could do that. I thought it was just old age." For portion guidance, the goal is to keep processed meat consumption below 2 servings per week, ideally 0. 1 serving is about 3 ounces, roughly the size of a deck of cards. Number 5. Diet soda and artificial sweeteners. This one catches people off guard. Diet soda has 0 sugar, 0 calories. So how could it possibly affect your joints? According to a clinical trial published in a top-tier nutrition journal, artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose were found to alter gut microbiome composition in ways that increased systemic inflammatory markers by up to 28% over a 12-week period. Medical experts agree that gut health and joint health are deeply interconnected. The gut-joint axis, as researchers call it, means that disruptions in your intestinal bacteria can directly influence the inflammatory environment around your cartilage and connective tissue. And there's a secondary mechanism at play. Phosphoric acid, found in most diet colas, interferes with calcium absorption. Over time, this weakens the bones that support your joints, compounding the problem. The swap here is simple. Replace diet soda with sparkling water, flavored with fresh lemon, lime, or a splash of tart cherry juice. Tart cherry juice, specifically Montmorency cherries, has been shown in multiple studies to contain anthocyanins that actively reduce joint inflammation. Aim for about 4 ounces of tart cherry juice, diluted in water, once or twice per day. And if you're someone who drinks 2 or 3 diet sodas daily, which is more common than most people admit, don't try to quit overnight. Start by replacing 1 per day with sparkling water. After a week, replace the second. The goal is 0 within 3 weeks. Many people report that once the artificial sweeteners clear their system, they actually start tasting the natural sweetness in foods again. Berries taste sweeter. Carrots taste richer, and the craving for that chemical sweetness fades entirely. If you are finding value in this video, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Senior Health Decoded brings you new science-backed health videos every week, and subscribing makes sure you never miss one. Number 4. Vegetable and seed oils, the one in every kitchen. Here it is, the food we teased at the beginning. And there's a very good chance you're looking at a bottle of it right now. Canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil. These are marketed as heart-healthy cooking oils. They line the shelves of every supermarket. They're in nearly every kitchen in the country, and they may be one of the single biggest dietary drivers of joint destruction in adults over 60. A comprehensive review published in a leading nutrition research journal analyzed over 30 studies on polyunsaturated fatty acid ratios and concluded that excessive omega-6 consumption, the kind found in these vegetable and seed oils, promotes the production of pro-inflammatory eicosanoids. These are signaling molecules that directly accelerate cartilage degradation and synovial inflammation. Here's the number that matters. The ideal omega-6 to omega-3 ratio for joint health is roughly 2 to 1. The average Western diet? It's closer to 20 to 1. That's 10 times the inflammatory load your joints are designed to handle. And the primary driver of that imbalance is the cooking oil sitting on your counter. Eleanor was 71 and had been cooking with canola oil for as long as she could remember, so her hip pain had been getting progressively worse over 3 years. She was considering a hip replacement. A friend shared a video about omega-6 ratios, and Eleanor decided to make one change. She switched entirely to extra virgin olive oil for low-heat cooking and avocado oil for high-heat cooking. She also started taking 2 grams of fish oil daily. After 10 weeks, Eleanor told her daughter she hadn't felt that good in years. Her orthopedic surgeon, at her next appointment, noted measurable improvement in her range of motion and suggested they delay the surgery discussion. To make this change today, go through your pantry. Any oil that lists soybean, canola, corn, sunflower, or safflower as the primary ingredient, replace it. Extra virgin olive oil is the gold standard for low to medium heat. Avocado oil handles high heat cooking beautifully. Coconut oil works well for baking. This single swap can shift your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio dramatically within just a few weeks. Number 3. White bread and refined grains. White bread, white pasta, white rice, most breakfast cereals. These are foods that have been stripped of their fiber, bran, and most of their nutrients during processing. What's left is essentially a delivery system for rapidly absorbed glucose. Research consistently shows that high glycemic foods spike blood sugar, which triggers an insulin response, which in turn activates inflammatory pathways throughout the body, including the joints. A study involving over 1,200 adults with osteoarthritis found that those who replaced refined grains with whole grain alternatives experienced a measurable decrease in joint pain scores over a 12-week period, with the most significant improvement seen in knee and hand joints. The glycemic index of white bread is approximately 75, nearly as high as pure table sugar at 65 on some scales. Whole grain sourdough, by comparison, sits around 48. That difference translates directly into how much inflammation your body produces after every meal. The transition doesn't require perfection. Start by swapping white bread for 100% whole grain bread. Check the ingredients to make sure whole wheat flour is the first item listed, not enriched wheat flour, which is refined. Replace white pasta with whole grain or legume-based pasta. Switch white rice to brown rice, quinoa, or farro. These substitutions reduce glycemic load and deliver fiber that supports the gut-joint axis we discussed earlier. Grace, 69, was a retired librarian in Pennsylvania who had been eating white toast with her morning tea for 40 years. She described her knee pain as a constant dull ache that sharpened every time she went downstairs. Her daughter bought her a loaf of whole grain sourdough bread as an experiment. Grace was skeptical. She didn't think bread was the problem. But after 3 weeks of swapping just that one item, she noticed the staircase felt easier. After 6 weeks, she replaced her white pasta dinners with chickpea pasta. By the end of 2 months, she told her daughter the ache wasn't gone, but it had dropped from what she called a 6 out of 10 to about a 3. One food at a time. That's all it took. Number 2. Fried foods, French fries, fried chicken, onion rings, donuts, fish and chips. These foods combine nearly every joint-damaging mechanism into one package. GEs from high-heat cooking, trans fats from partially hydrogenated frying oils, omega-6 overload from the seed oils used in commercial fryers, and high glycemic refined coatings. According to a 2023 clinical trial on adults over 55, participants who reduced fried food consumption from 4 or more servings per week to 1 or fewer saw an average 34% reduction in self-reported joint pain and a significant drop in serum C-reactive protein levels in just 8 weeks. The control group, who maintained their usual fried food intake, saw no improvement and several reported worsening symptoms over the same period. Decades of research confirmed that the combination of high heat and unstable polyunsaturated oils creates oxidized lipids, molecules that are uniquely destructive to cartilage tissue. Commercial deep fryers often reuse oil for days, compounding the oxidation with every batch. Every time that oil is reheated, the concentration of harmful aldehydes increases. By the third or fourth use, that oil is essentially a concentrated inflammatory agent, and it's soaking into every piece of chicken, every French fry, every piece of battered fish that goes through it. Margaret, 73, was a retired school teacher in Ohio who loved her Friday fish fry. It was a tradition. Her and her husband, Walter, had been going to the same restaurant for decades. When Margaret's rheumatologist told her that her hand arthritis was advancing faster than expected, she decided to make changes. She didn't give up fish. She switched to baking wild-caught salmon at home with olive oil and lemon 3 times a week. Walter joined her. Within 2 months, Margaret said her grip strength had noticeably improved. She could open jars again. She could hold a pen without wincing. Walter, who hadn't even been trying to improve his joints, mentioned that his lower back felt better than it had in years. The principle is simple. Bake, grill, steam, or sauté instead of frying. When you do cook with oil, use stable fats. Olive oil below 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Avocado oil up to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Avoid any restaurant or product that uses vegetable oil in their fryer without specifying which oil. Number 1, hidden added sugars in healthy foods. This is the one almost nobody suspects. Not candy, not cake, not the obvious sugar sources. Most people over 60 already know to limit those. The real danger is the sugar hiding inside foods that are marketed as healthy. Flavored yogurt, granola bars, store-bought pasta sauce, whole wheat bread with added honey, bottled smoothies, salad dressings, even some protein bars marketed to older adults. A large-scale observational study tracking over 6,000 adults aged 55 and older found that participants consuming more than 25 grams of added sugar per day had a 48% higher rate of clinical joint inflammation compared to those keeping added sugar below 15 grams daily. And here's the critical finding. The source of sugar didn't matter. Whether it came from a candy bar or a cup of flavored Greek yogurt, the inflammatory response was virtually identical. It's well established in the medical community that excess sugar drives a process called glycation, where sugar molecules bind to proteins in your body, forming those advanced glycation end products we've already discussed. Cartilage is particularly rich in collagen, one of the proteins most vulnerable to glycation. Over time, glycated collagen becomes stiff, brittle, and unable to absorb the compressive forces that healthy cartilage handles effortlessly. The deceptive part is the volume. One single-serving cup of flavored yogurt can contain 19 grams of added sugar. A half-cup serving of store-bought pasta sauce can have 9 grams. A granola bar can pack 14 grams. Eat all 3 in one day, which many people do, and you're at 42 grams of added sugar before you've touched a single dessert, nearly 3 times the threshold linked to increased joint inflammation. Robert, 66, was a retired engineer in Virginia who prided himself on eating healthy. Greek yogurt every morning, a granola bar for a snack, whole grain pasta with jarred marinara for dinner. When his knee pain made it difficult to play with his grandchildren, he was stunned to learn from a dietitian that his healthy diet was delivering over 50 grams of hidden added sugar per day. He switched to plain Greek yogurt with fresh blueberries and a drizzle of raw honey, about 1 teaspoon, which adds just 5 grams of sugar compared to the 19 in the flavored version. He replaced granola bars with a handful of walnuts and a small piece of dark chocolate, 85% cacao. And he started making his own pasta sauce from crushed San Marzano tomatoes, garlic, basil, and olive oil, a 5-minute recipe with 0 added sugar. In 6 weeks, his daily added sugar intake dropped below 12 grams. In 10 weeks, he said his knees felt like they'd gone back 5 years. His wife started making the same changes. Robert said that was the real victory. The rule of thumb: aim for under 15 grams of added sugar per day. Not total sugar, added sugar. The nutrition label now separates these in the United States, so there's no guesswork involved. Flip the package over, find added sugars, and track the number. Most people are shocked when they start counting. The average American adult over 60 consumes roughly 55 grams of added sugar per day, nearly 4 times the threshold associated with increased joint inflammation in the research. Here are 5 steps you can start today. Not next week, not next month. Today. Just step 1. Go to your kitchen right now and check the oil you cook with. If it says canola, soybean, corn, or sunflower, put it aside. Pick up a bottle of extra virgin olive oil and a bottle of avocado oil on your next grocery run. This is the single highest impact swap on this list. Step 2. Flip over 3 healthy foods in your fridge and read the added sugar line on the nutrition label. Flavored yogurt, pasta sauce, and granola bars are the top 3 offenders. If any item has more than 5 grams of added sugar per serving, find an alternative or make your own. Step 3. Replace processed deli meats with home-prepared proteins. Roast a chicken breast or a small turkey tenderloin on Sunday and slice it for the week. It takes 30 minutes and eliminates a major source of AGEs and sodium nitrates. To step 4. Cut fried foods to no more than once per week. And when you do indulge, choose restaurants that specify their frying oil. At home, bake or air fry instead. An air fryer achieves a similar crunch at a fraction of the inflammatory cost. Step 5. Swap refined grains for whole grains at 1 meal per day for the first 2 weeks, then expand. Start with breakfast. Whole grain oats or sourdough toast instead of white bread or sugary cereal. In week 3, switch your lunch bread. By week 4, tackle dinner pasta or rice. Small wins build momentum, and your joints will start to feel the difference before the month is over. These 5 changes cost almost nothing extra at the grocery store. Most of them actually save money. A bag of walnuts lasts longer than a box of granola bars. And a bottle of olive oil outlasts a bottle of canola. The only investment is attention. Reading labels. Making one different choice each week. That's it. These 7 foods are in millions of kitchens across the country, quietly making joint pain worse with every meal. But now you know. And knowing gives you the power to make different choices, starting today. You don't have to overhaul everything at once. Pick the one food on this list that you eat most often, make the swap we recommended, and give it 6 to 8 weeks. That's all the research suggests it takes to start feeling a measurable difference. We want to hear from you. Which of these 7 foods surprised you the most? And have you ever noticed a connection between what you eat and how your joints feel the next day? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might be the one that helps someone else finally make the change. And if you know someone who's been struggling with joint pain, send them this video. It could be the thing that changes everything for them.